This is the Average to Savage podcast with Paul Guarino. Everyone and anyone, athletes, celebs, and much more.
What's up, everybody? I'm back for another episode of the Average Savage podcast. Our special guest today is Erica McCall. Erica, how's it going?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's just go into a recap of your season. I know it just came to an end, but you did have career highs in pretty much everything this year. You started more games than you ever did. So what was your overall experience this year?
Man, the experience was great for me. I mean, it didn't end the way we wanted to end. We didn't make playoffs, of course, but for me, this was my best season of my career, the best situation of my career, coming to DC and being with a team, and the culture that they have was really good for my mindset, my confidence, and which I believe ultimately led to me having my best season of my career.
Yeah, definitely. Always, obviously always the goal is, to make the playoffs and go for a run like that. But I want to also just take it to last year in the bubble. Obviously it was a weird year. But you actually had even a crazier experience, I would say, because I believe you were on 3 teams technically, right?
Yeah. So I got waived from Indiana back May or March or something like that, like right when quarantine began. And so I was just on the grind back at home working out, and then the bubble, I was looking at social media and everyone was going to the bubble and all that. I'm like, man, I can't wait to get back into this league. And then about 3 days or 4 days after the teams got into the bubble, I got a call from Atlanta saying that they wanted me. Coach Nikki called me, and I was like, okay. And she was like, can you be here tomorrow? And I was like, sure. So packed up all my stuff, flew from Bakersfield to Florida, and was with Atlanta. Well, first I was the first ever free agent to come in from the bubble.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy experience because they didn't really have a protocol. I was the test dummy. So I was in quarantine for originally they kept saying I was supposed to be in quarantine for 4 or 5 days in my hotel room. And then I would come out and then test, and they would extend the day and extend the day. And so I think I was in quarantine, true quarantine, for 8 days. I literally felt like I was in prison. They knocked on the door, they slid my food to me. I was doing my push-ups in my room, my prison push-ups. It was wild. And so, I finally got out of quarantine and got to practice and play 1 game with Atlanta. So I was with them for about 10 days. And then after, they had to cut me because people were coming back from COVID. And so that's when, less than 24 hours later, Minnesota called me, and I joined Minnesota on the bus 10 minutes after Coach Reeves had told me I was on the team. She was like, can you make the bus in 10 minutes? I'm like, sure. Took the quickest shower of my life and just threw something on and made the bus, and everyone gave me a standing ovation. Not standing ovation. They clapped for me on the bus, and that was my my intro into Minnesota. And I was with Minnesota for the rest of the season, and it was my first time making playoffs with them. So I love the culture there. I love Coach Reeves and Sil and Fee, and they have a really great team full of great players. And that was my bubble season in a nutshell.
Yeah, you probably had, obviously it was crazy, but I would say you would have one of the craziest ones.
Yeah, for sure. I always said it was crazy because I went from being cut to being kind of the hottest free agent in the bubble, because I was the only person that was available that didn't have to come, quarantine and everything. So once I was free, all the teams were calling me, all calling my agent. So I felt really cool there in that moment.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just remember just seeing it on Twitter, and I was just like, so I'm assuming she's just going to stay there, and then just someone's just going to pick her up pretty much. Just pretty much that's what happened. Anyways, that's funny. That the bus story is pretty funny. Just going back, what was your first memory of just playing basketball?
For me, it always goes back to playing and practicing with my dad. He's always been my first coach, my favorite coach. He coaches at the University of Bakersfield. And he's just paved the way for me and my sister and my siblings, for this basketball game. And I remember practicing with him in the backyard. And I remember we had this conversation, when I said I wanted to become serious with basketball, and he was like, all right, I'm going to give you the tools that you need, to become successful. And he gave me like these like 4 pillars of life that I like live by all the way up until really today. And it was like, keep God first, family, school, basketball. And then, like the 5th one was kind of like, and always listen to me. And so that's like what I've lived by, growing up. And I think that's one of the main reasons that's why I became successful, because I always had that foundation in my life.
Yeah, definitely. And then just going into high school and things like that, like when did you know you were like better than the rest?
Yeah. I think I realized it my freshman year of high school. I realized I was pretty good. Like towards the end of it, like when I was starting to receive like accolades and all these awards and stuff, and I got freshman of the year for California, which is huge. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this game.
Yeah, definitely. And then what was your recruiting process like?
Recruiting process is crazy. Letters every single day, like mailbox stuff with letters. My mom would come home with like 10, 15 letters every day. Teams calling me, trying to figure out, who I wanted to go to. And then it wasn't like how it is today where I'm sorry, I hate what these kids are doing today when they say they got an offer like every day, like got offered by CSUB. Like it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
We kept our process kind of more private, and we just really focused on what we wanted to focus on. And so my top 3 were Stanford, UCLA, and UConn. And so I went on those 3 visits and had great visits for all of them. Went to a Big Sean concert for my UCLA visit. So that was super cool. But ultimately, I decided Stanford was the best college for me just because of the team atmosphere. I loved the team and the coaches there. And of course, a Stanford degree is like, you can't beat that. Plus, like when I went there, Stanford had beat SC and we like got to rush the field. So it was a super cool visit. And that was the reason why I went there.
Well, I gotta ask, what was your GPA going like what to get into Stanford?
My GPA was a 4.2 in high school.
So you got straight A's?
Essentially, yeah. I think I had like 1 B, but because with AP classes, they're like weighted differently. So yeah.
What was the B in then?
The B was probably in calculus. Yeah, like math was never my strong suit. Right. So
I feel you on that. And then how was your overall experience at Stanford, like on and off the court?
Oh, I loved it. I love my experience at Stanford. I mean, I think it's the best university in the world. But I'm biased. So, but it has an amazing campus, amazing students there. I always love Stanford in terms of the academics and just the student life, because many people think like that we get treated like athletes get treated like superstars, and at Stanford, like we're treated like everybody else. Like we room with everyone else. You room with like non-athletes. It's just like a regular college experience, and I really appreciated that. And I know that a lot of schools, specifically like the SEC, like they are treated like superstars. Like they fly private. They've got it all down, all of over there. And at Stanford, like we're treated like every student, and we're no special than other students. And so I really appreciate that. And of course, like your roommate could be like the next Bill Gates, the next genius. So like the learning atmosphere is just so dope. And then of course with basketball, I mean, Coach Tara Vanderveer is a genius, on her own. And so the way that she just executes X's and O's, and then as she became more comfortable with us, like especially in my senior year, like she became a lot more personable. I think like she found the key to success, and that's why she won just a national championship this last year.
Yeah, for sure. And then just like looking at the stats, I'm assuming you were just like a role player your first 2 years, and a starter your final 2 years. So what was that like to just get the chance, and then obviously a great two years of junior and senior year?
Yeah, my first year, I was just soaking in the experience. Janae McKay was my senior. She was the best player in the nation at that point. And so I was just soaking it all in, like taking in the whole experience. We went to the Final Four my freshman year. So I couldn't, have dreamed of a better freshman year. And so sophomore year, after she left, it was like the first year after the Ogumake era, like where they had, 8 years of an Ogumake there. And this was like, we didn't know like what our identity was my sophomore year, and we really struggled. And so that was a big struggle for me. Sophomore year was really tough for me. And so going into junior year, just coming off of, I think I had played at I think I played USA World University Games, and like my confidence just like blew off the roof after I played. I did really well in that competition. And so going into there, I just knew that I needed to become a better leader, become a better player for my team. And so junior, senior year, I really just blossomed. And that's all thanks to my teammates and my coaches who helped me get there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah. And I saw too that you played in the U18 World Games for the 3x3, which is interesting because that was like new. It had to be really new then, right?
Very new. Yeah. I think the year before it just started. So we were like the second year of 3-on-3. So it was a very new sport, but it was really fun. And like, I remember our first practices, our initial team it was me, Alicia Gray, Diamond DeShields, and Kayla Davis, but Alicia ended up getting hurt. So then we brought in Brown and Turner. So it's super cool because like all still doing well in basketball. And so it was a crazy experience. It was like really hard. We thought the practices were going to be easy, but like 3-on-3 is so hard. It's so physically demanding because you're always on, there's no rest at all. You just are always going. And so when we went to Spain and we played, it was super cool. And I remember we actually, Diamond and Kayla had fouled out. So it was just me and Brianna Turner playing 3 against 2. Yeah, it was like an overtime. We ended up losing to China. I remember that, but we ended up getting to win the whole gold medal at the end. But I remember that was like a crazy experience playing 3 against 2. We actually did pretty well, held our own for what we could do, but that was a super cool moment.
Is it crazy to see like that's an Olympic sport now?
Yeah, it's wild to see. I never thought it would become as big. I just thought it was a kind of a sub sport to 5-on-5 basketball, and to see that it's blossomed into an Olympic sport. And I assume there's going to be, like national leagues and all that. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And then just going into the WNBA draft 2017, like where did you see yourself going, and like what were the like talks about? And then you got drafted in the second round, 17th overall. So what were your feelings like?
Initially I was excited they even invited me to the draft. I didn't think I was going to get invited at all. I was planning on doing something at home. And so I was hyped just going to the draft because my sister, DeWanna, she got drafted 5th overall to Phoenix. And so I was like, man, this is super cool. Like I'm at the same experience as what my sister got to do. And so when, got to the draft and it was like time was ticking and everyone's name was getting called, it's starting to get a little nerve wracking, because people did project me to go higher than what I went. And so as time went on, like I was the last person to get drafted, at the draft. And so it felt like forever for my name to get called. But when it did, I was so hyped. Like I didn't care. Like I was living my dream. I got drafted. I was at the draft. And I went to Indiana where, Tamika Catchings, had just finished playing. So I'm like, man, this team is about to be great. And so I love my draft experience. Of course, my time with Indiana, we didn't get to succeed as much as we would like to, but I appreciate every moment that I have with them for sure.
Yeah, just you saying that answer, did that like motivate you when you expected to go higher?
It did for me. I kind of gave me, a chip on the shoulder, to go harder and to prove to a lot of people, that I am a great basketball player. But of course, draft numbers like really don't mean anything until you get into the league. And then you really get to see what people are about. And so, it definitely gave me some extra motivation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like people from your draft class aren't even in the league now. So that I would say that attests to you still being in the league.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. I didn't even think about that. So yeah.
Well, I was just adding to your point. And then just going into the league and things like that. What would you say like the biggest difference from like transitioning from college to the pros?
I think just the way that you have to think about the game is probably the toughest thing. Like you have to like think more and think less at the same time, because the WNBA is all about reads, just knowing where to go, knowing where to be at the right moment. And so in college, you're definitely more programmed to what your plays are, to what your team is doing. If pretty much everybody in the WNBA runs the same stuff, so you have to be able to think differently and like read the defense differently than what you did in college. And so that was definitely tough for me to learn. But as time has gone on, I've become a lot more comfortable in knowing where my role is on the team. And so I think that's why I became so successful with Minnesota and with DC.
Yeah. And then I know your sister, DeWanna Bonner, is also in the league. So what was it like growing up with her just as another basketball player? I know she's older. like by 8 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah, exactly 8 years. We had the same birthday, so it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's also crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was really cool. Growing up, we didn't grow up together because DeWanna is from Alabama. I'm from Bakersfield. And so she um, stayed out there most, especially as she got older. But when we were younger, she used to come down and she reminded me of this, like that we used to have birthday parties together. So I was like, I have no recollection of that because we were so young. But even though she lived in Alabama, I lived in California, like she constantly inspired me. And she's still my inspiration to this day. You know, when I was in high school, seeing my sister like dominate a league, you know, be 6th woman of the year for 3 times, win championships. I was there at her first championship. For me to see that just inspired me even more to get to the level where I am today and where I am now, you know, seeing how much she's dominated after having twins is incredible for me. Just knowing that, you know, she can continue to thrive and do things even after having birth and going through what she's been through. And so she's my constant inspiration and I love her forever.
Yeah, definitely. And then do you call her for advice still to this day?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, especially when it comes down to big games, when it comes to going to a new team, like when all that was happening, even when overseas, like I talked to her about my decisions overseas, like I'm always asking for advice, you know, what should I do? You know, what do you think is the best? Who should I talk to? And so we have the same agent. And so that helps out a lot with us. And we all have a group chat with my dad, my sister, and my agent. And we all like always talk about, you know, what advice that I should be getting, where should I be going, what should be my next move. And so I really love that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what was it like? What's it like playing against her now? And what was it like the first time you got to play against her in the pros?
Yeah, the first time I was nervous. This was our first time ever playing against each other. I mean, we didn't play against each other when we were kids because we were just always, you know, separated. And so my first time playing against her, I was like, oh shoot, like this is my chance to get to show, you know, my sister what I'm all about. And needless to say, I just scored on her after 3 years of playing against her. I just scored on her this year. So shows how she scored on me several times before that. So it just shows how dominant she is. But I love the moment. I mean, this is something that I've dreamed of as a little girl, playing against my sister in the league. And she's just an amazing player. She continues to inspire me. Even when she scores on me, I'm like, dang, that's my sister. Yeah.
And then what advice would you give to a younger athlete trying to, you know, either trying to get like a scholarship, trying to make like a pro league?
For me, you know, it's all about having fun, not thinking too much. You know, when I've got in situations where I took the game way too seriously, that's when I struggled the most. And I was constantly worried about my performance and how it was going to be better. You know, that just made things 10 times worse for me. And so I encourage, you know, all young players out there just to love the game as you did when you were younger, when you begin to play, you know, continue to love it each and every day. It's a blessing to be able to do what you do, to have a scholarship, you know, to get to play in the pros. Just continue to love it, continue to have fun. And I promise success will come with that.
I like that. And I know off the court, you just started your own podcast too, Bird's Eye View. So what inspired you to start a podcast, and how has things been going?
Yeah, so I had a podcast previously a couple years ago, and it really didn't. It was just me just kind of getting into the podcast world. I really didn't have much direction, and I was doing literally everything from promotion to editing to doing the content work. So it was just a lot for me to do all while I was overseas. So I took a break for a while, for about 3 years. And so, but I love listening to podcasts, and I did enjoy it when I was doing it. So I was like, you know, I need to do something that I really know, something like a subject I really know about. And so I was like, duh, like basketball, overseas basketball, it's not something that's really talked about. And so everywhere I go, everyone's asking me, you know, what's overseas basketball like? What's the food like, the language, the culture? And so I was like, you know, why don't I start a podcast that, you know, answers all these questions and not just talks about basketball, but the different aspects of what overseas basketball is, overseas basketball experience is. And so that's what my podcast is bringing to everyone. I have a couple of episodes already recorded, and we did one on basketball course, and then we have one on relationships. We'll have one on motherhood. We'll have one on faith, food. And so the list goes on, but I'm really excited for everyone to tune in, and it's going to be a fun podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to check it out. What is your overseas experience been like, and what countries have you played in?
Yeah, so I've played in Hungary all 4 years in the same team, which is very rare in the
Yeah.
overseas basketball world. And so Hungary was a beautiful experience for me. My first year, it was tough because you go in, and we talk about this on my episode with Sydney Weiss in the first episode. We talk about how when you come in, like you say, like, I'm gonna dominate, like, I'm an American, I'm about to dominate this team, I'm about to get all the points, all the rebounds. And that's not the situation when you go overseas. You are humbled tremendously. I mean, it could be for certain players, but for many of us, you're humble when you go overseas. It's a different style of play, it's different style of mindset, different style of physicality. And so I had to learn that quickly. And once again, I had to not take myself too seriously and realize that this is a dream. This is a beautiful experience I get to do playing overseas basketball. And so with that, just love my experience in Hungary. That's why I stayed there for 4 years. And so it's been super cool. I've had a lot of success there. I've won cups there. I've won the regular season titles there, gone to Euro Cup Final Four. My sister actually played with us my last season in Hungary. So that was super cool. That was our first time getting to play with each other. So Hungary's brought me many blessings. Overseas has brought me many blessings. And I hope that when people listen to podcasts, they get to receive those.
Yeah. Are you going over there this season?
I am not. So that's like the big crazy thing. Everyone, when they talk to me, like, you're not going back to Hungary, you're not going back to Sexside. I'm like, I know. I just felt like it was time for change. I've been there for a really long time, and I have nothing but love for them. But I'll be going to Turkey next season. So I'm really excited for that. Beşiktaş, it's in Istanbul. So it's going to be super cool. I'm ready for a new experience. I'm kind of going to feel like a rookie all over again because it's a new country, new language, new team, new style of basketball. But I'm excited for the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Are you ready for some fun questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What are 3 basketball jerseys you don't own that you would want?
Ooh, good question. Okay. I would love a Shaquille O'Neal jersey. For
which team?
What team out of the 8 teams? I'd either like a Lakers one or Orlando.
Yeah, I was gonna say both of those two.
Yeah. Let's see. I love a Lisa Leslie jersey. I don't have one of those. I need that in my possession. And I need a Cheryl Swoops jersey, but a USA one.
All right, they got those now. I seen they made the retro ones. I don't know if they made the Lisa Leslie retro ones yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. I haven't seen that one, but I've seen the Swoops one out there. I was like, that's tough. I need that.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite type of food is Mexican. But favorite food within that category, enchiladas. I love enchiladas. So good. Cheese, just cheese though. No chicken, no beef.
You gotta get them in California.
You have to get them in California. You have to get your Mexican food in California, not Tex-Mex, not Arizona Mexican food. I went to New York and was highly disappointed in the Mexican food. So only California where you can get your best Mexican food.
What's your favorite song right now?
Favorite song right now? Ooh. It's probably it's a song by Normani, and it's called, I'm gonna look it up because I should know my favorite song because I listen to it every day. I think it's called Wild Side. Bam. Wild Side by Normani.
I definitely been there where I just like listen to a song but I have no idea what they're saying or anything, or like I just know it sounds good and I like it.
Such a great song, but I can say, I mean, the music video though she's incredible, like an incredible dancer and entertainer. So that's the main reason why I love that song.
And then last one, what do you like to do in your free time?
During my free time, especially what I like to do to wind down, I love watching reality TV. I'm a reality TV junkie. I'm not ashamed of it. It's not a guilty pleasure at all. I don't feel guilty watching it, but I've loved reality TV since I was a little girl. Like I would watch Flavor of Love when I was like 8 years old.
That was the show. I'm not gonna lie.
That was my intro to reality TV. So as I've gotten older, it's been super fun.
Which ones are you watching currently?
So right now it's called the Zeus Network. And so it's like prime time reality TV, like it's super like unedited too. So you really get the full scope of it. So there's a show called One More Chance with It's actually like a tree of Flavor of Love, which is pretty cool to see. He was on I Love New York, which was New York is from Flavor of Love. So he has his own reality TV show on the Zeus Network. And so I've just started that, and it is entertaining to say the least.
Did you watch Love is Blind?
I did. That is one of my shows as well. Yeah, I did. I love Love is Blind.
I watched it, and I don't usually like those shows, and I like that one, and I was like, why do I like this right now?
Did you watch the reunion?
This, I don't know. Did I? I don't know. I know they came out with something right after, but I think, didn't they come out with one recently?
Yeah, so they came out with
I didn't see
a reunion show. Like all the cast members get together for like a party, and it's drama.
No, I did not see that one. I did not see that one then. I only saw the one like after, like maybe like the month after one or whatever they did.
Yeah. This is like a year or 2 years or something afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they were supposed to have another one in Chicago, but I think it never happened because of the pandemic and stuff.
Yes.
But I did see another show, but I didn't check it out. And they had like like costume masks on, like heads, and they were talking. You watch that one too?
Is that the mask? Not the Masked Singer?
No. It was like a dating one, but they literally had like
I haven't
say like a unicorn head on or something, and they were talking to each other, like, but they were in person, but they had the mask.
I think I've seen a commercial for that, and that's very enticing. So I will have to look.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and could you let the listeners know where they can follow you at on social media?
Perfect. Thank you. You guys can follow me on Instagram at birdstheword_24. You can follow my podcast at birdseiview.podcast. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, where I'm fun and more unedited, you can follow me at Erica McCall 24.